My name is Alex Scopel. I'm the lead narrative designer on Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire's DLC.
So Alex, talk about what's going on in this DLC story-wise.
So in Seeker Slayer Survivor, you are invited / told not to come to an arena on this mysterious island where bad things are happening. And whereas in our last DLC, Beast of Winter, we really focused on lore and exploring kind of the darker corners of Aora. In this DLC, we are really focused on combat and the things that we can do in our combat system, the kind of puzzles and experiences that we can set up.
What does the high fantasy setting open up for you creatively from a narrative standpoint?
Theoretically, anything.
Anything is possible.
But we tried to have a very grounded fantasy in Aora, the Pillars world. We have certain established rules, we have certain established cultures and ways that they interact, and we try to keep those pretty consistent, and we try to keep the rules of our magic and our metaphysics pretty consistent, because that makes the world feel more grounded, makes it feel more impactful, more real, makes the decisions that the player is making have more weight.
So can you talk about some of the new enemies we'll encounter in this DLC, without giving too much away?
So we're going to see a really cool Fire Titan, which is like the Within Titan, but with, fire.
He does fire now.
We're bringing back some old favorites from Pillars of Eternity with big pointy teeth, which I won't spoil the name of yet, but my guess is that those of you who have played the game know what I'm talking about. What else? Do we have other interesting things?
Oh, you wrote them in.
So many things. We have lots of things with glowing eyes. We got some fishmen with glowing eyes. We've got some ogres who also have glowing eyes. Lots of oozes and spiders.
Any interesting or shady characters we'll be dealing with in this DLC?
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite is Muatsu, who shows up in your in the hold of your ship as a head. He's quite dead, and his ghost pops out and tells you, kind of sets you off on this adventure. We also meet a deity of sorts called the Faces of the Hunt, who runs this arena, who summons up using the various powers at its disposal the enemies that populate this arena.
So what have you learned post-launch from Pillars as far as game balancing and story devices and the ship combat? Like, what have you learned since then from the community feedback?
So we are very open to feedback and criticism, and we've gotten plenty of both. We read a lot of reviews, we read a lot of forums, and lots of people like different things, so it takes time to kind of thresh the overall opinions. One thing that we know that we weren't entirely happy with when we shipped was ship combat, and we thought that it would be pretty divisive, and it was. But we are looking at different ways to present that in game. We can't talk too much about it quite yet, but we've done a huge difficulty tuning pass, especially for the higher level difficulties, Path of the Damned and Veteran. So those gameplay experiences are already tougher if you hop back into the game.
What are some of the challenges in creating a narrative for the player to experience while also giving them multiple paths to take and multiple things to do that keep them entertained?
So I think one of the toughest things is player motivation. Like, you basically, when the world is so open, when there are so many choices, when there are so many options for the player character to be, you have to provide a lot of different hooks to the player so that they can latch onto something that they find interesting. So earlier when I said that you're invited to this island, but you're also told not to go to this island, and that's a way of giving the player different motivations, whether they want to stick it to the gods or whether they want to help these people out.
All I'm just thinking is every D&D campaign ever, when the guy goes, "You don't want to go there, it is cursed." Guess where we're going?
Exactly.
So talk about, like, you mentioned there's an arena in this. Like, will you be fighting all in it? Is it a fight to the death? Is it an optional arena? Are you thrown in there and just trying to survive?
The arena, which is called the Crucible, is the core component to the DLC. We the Faces of the Hunt, which are the guardians of this place, summon up these enemies for you to fight, and through fighting these enemies, through overcoming these trials, you become better attuned to the spirits of the Crucible. You learn more about the problems that the island of Kazuari is facing.
Can you talk about some other modes you're adding in this DLC as well? You mentioned the boss mode that's coming out, or can you talk about that? Can you talk about that?
No.
All right then. All right, cool. Wrap it up, guys. We're good to go.
We are presenting new, more difficult challenges for really high-level players, harder than the things that are in the base game. We can't talk too much more about that, but that goes out to everybody who has purchased the game. We are really committed to providing additional content over the next year plus for Deadfire. Just lots of new interesting things to keep the players interested.
Can you talk about when the free content update is coming out, as well as the DLC?
The DLC is coming out on September 25th. And I believe the free content update's the same day, right?